Hello Year 7, I just thought I'd make a quick video to go over our cue card for tomorrow's assessment. I'm not available today, my girls' school is closed because of the snow and the ice, so I'm with them today. So we've gone over these, you've got your own cue card. If you don't know where your cue card is or you've lost it, feel free to make some notes in the back of your book or take a piece of paper from the drawer on the windowsill where my desk is. You're welcome to take a line paper from there and make some notes if you want. Or I'll put this on to our Litherland Instagram page, a link to it so you can watch the video again if you wanted. So you will have a section in your assessment tomorrow on your layout of your story mountain. You'll get a point for each of these areas that you can label. So number 1 is our exposition, then we've got our rising action, you've got the climax at the top, and then remember it's a mountain, falling action, and then you've got your resolution. And we remember the solution is the ending of something, so we know the resolution is the one that's the end of the mountain. We also have our key vocabulary that you'll be tested on as well. It might ask you to put these words in a sentence, or it might ask you to tell the meaning. I don't know what it'll be on the assessment. It'll be something like that. So it's just to remember that the protagonist is your main character, Jerome. Our antagonist, they are the bullies. And remember, our bullies are Mike, Snap and Eddie, and our protagonist is Jerome. Context. This is anything about the background of where and when it's set and what society was like at the time. So this was set in America, in Chicago. That's where it was set. And it was written in 2018, so it's a modern text. Tension. This is a build-up of suspense. And we've spoken about that a lot in our Gothic fiction in September as well. Sensory language. These are our senses. So what we can see, hear, feel, touch, smell, and taste. Let's see. Allegory is remember our rhyme. An allegory is a moral to the story or moral in the story. So the moral and the meaning in this is that we learn from racial injustice, and that's why Jewel Parker Rhodes, our author, has written the story for that very reason, to make sure modern audiences are still continuing to learn from the mistakes that society has done, basically. So other vocabulary, and we've done this across the whole term. We've got melancholy, meaning sad. Nauseating, to be nauseous, is to be feeling sick. Luminous, so to light up, to make brighter. Hostile is a feeling of aggression. If you're feeling a sense of trepidation or you're feeling frantic, it's a sense of kind of anxiety and very uncomfortable feeling of worry. If something is ominous, it means there's a bad feeling or something bad might happen soon. So if the clouds looked ominous, there's a sense that they're probably getting darker and it might rain. If something is obscure, it's something that you can't really see very well, or it's not very clear. You don't know about it yet. On the back, we put our sentences. You're going to have a section on sentences as well, and you're used to these. So the more sentence. You will get 1 mark for the more sentence. For example, the more Jerome ran from the police car, comma, the more Officer Moore, the more the police car followed him. You need to make sure that you've got the sentence, the more sentence, you'll get a mark for that. And you'll get your second mark for your use of punctuation. So, and your capital, punctuate, and your full stop. And it's the same for the more, the less sentence, okay? Make sure you remember your punctuation as well as the sentence type. You'll have a comma sandwich sentence as well, which means you sandwich a little bit of extra information, a subordinate clause, in the middle of your sentence. So, for example, Jerome, who died, was shot by a police officer. If we remove this part, a subordinate clause, from the sentence still makes sense. Jerome was shot by a police officer. Okay, so that's how you know if it works. You'll get 1 mark for adding extra information in, and you'll get the second mark for the use of capital letter, full stop, and your commas surrounding the sandwich part of your sentence. You'll also have a colon clarification sentence, and this is where you add in a colon and give more detail about it. So you'll have a basic sentence, and I don't mind if you use these sentences actually. I'll be the one marking your assessment anyway, so I'm happy for you to use these. It's more, I need to know that you know the sentence, and I need to know that you know where to put the punctuation. So Carlos felt overwhelmed, give me all the reasons why, or give me examples, or what feelings he had. Fear, sadness, and duty filled his mind. Another way you can test this is by asking yourself why or what. So Carlos felt overwhelmed. Why? Because fear, sadness, and duty filled his mind. So the why, because is happening with that colon there. And finally, a semicolon split. A semicolon can replace a connective. So you could have, Jerome was shot, but it wasn't his fault. Instead of your connective, you're going to replace it with a semicolon. Now, the only way this can be right is if this sentence makes sense on its own and this sentence makes sense on its own. For example, Jerome was shot, full stop. That makes sense. It wasn't his fault. That makes sense. So they've got to make sense on their own, or you can add a connective in the middle, for example, but it wasn't his fault. This pen is not working. But I want you to replace this connective with that semicolon, okay? Semi meaning half. Half is a colon, half is your comma, so it's half of a colon. There's a full colon there. You'll also get, you'll have 3 images. These are our concepts. One of them will be setting, to do with setting, and you'll have a little paragraph or sentence, and you just need to match the image with the sentence that represents the setting or a place. If you see character or a person, that's going to match with anything to do with personalities, emotions, anything to do with a human or character aspect. You'll know when you get into the assessment anyway. And then finally, context. And as we said earlier, it's about background information. So where it was set, when it was set, a bit about the world at the time. You'll have a little section asking you, I think it's the very beginning as well, asking you a bit about the text. So you'll need to remember that our author is Jewel Parker Rhodes. We have Jerome, who's 12, as our protagonist. He was shot by Officer Moore because he had a toy gun. He lived in Chicago. His little sister is called Kim. So this is just general plot and character knowledge that you'll need to know. Our main ghost is Emmett Till, and he died in 1955. Our bullies, our antagonists are Mike, Eddie, and Snap. And Sarah, Officer Moore's daughter, sees Emmett Till and Jerome. And her purpose in the story is to kind of help society move on and be better people. We haven't got to this point in the book, but this is what I'd like you to do after you watch this video. She creates a website in the next couple of chapters in our book. We only have a few pages left, I think, to read. She creates a website as the next part in the story to raise awareness about social injustice in America and in Chicago and in her area. And she does that to kind of put her stamp on the world and to raise society's awareness about racial injustice and racial discrimination that's still happening in society. And remember, that was the reason Jewel Parker Rhodes actually wrote the book. The very last section of your assessment, you will be asked to write part of a story. And this will, all of our information on Gothic fiction and Frankenstein, fiction and Frankenstein will really help with this. I would love you, I think it says an opening to a story. So I would really love you to think about, pens run out, you're going to have to just listen to me talk. Think about how you can open a story using some of the ideas that you've already covered in your assessment. So I'd like you to use some of this language. Maybe you can have really ominous weather you can start with, and cool sort of senses, so things you can see in the darkness or you can hear. Maybe you could be in a forest or a spooky house. And we practice this at the beginning of the year in September, October. So it might be a really good time to get your books out, have a little look at some of your short story openings that we did, look at the examples of the Frankenstein extracts that we did, and try to make me scared, build that tension for me, build that sense of suspense. It would be brilliant if you could be the protagonist describing how spooky this atmosphere is. It'd be lovely to have an antagonist in there, maybe some sort of ghost or ghoul or villain. Your opening, it says an opening in your assessment, so open it with really good weather describing your senses, what's in the area, and then build that tension for me with things you can hear and feel and see. Maybe you can see someone in a spooky house in the distance, or maybe a gate has been left open and you're wandering through the path and you see lights or candles flickering in the windows, but it's been abandoned for years. So try to give me a nice opening to a spooky story to really make me want to read on by building that tension for me. Be fabulous if you could use some of these sentence types as well. I will upload this video onto my Instagram page, and that's Miss Rainbow _ or is it English _ Miss Rainbow? Either way, it's on our school Instagram pages. I'll ask Miss Lowe to attach it for you. And some of you have already gone on to my English TikTok page, and I'll put it onto there as well. So I hope that helps. And if you could, for the rest of the lesson, I think it's Mr. Hesketh taking the lesson, isn't it? The Ghost Boys book is behind my desk near to the coffee machine. It's a red book. The bookmark is in that book. So if you wouldn't mind for just reading the book for the rest of the lesson, and then just give me a shout where you get up to, that'd be brilliant. The children's red Ghost Boys books, they know where they are, and their class books are at the back of the room with their books on the second to bottom shelf or bottom shelf. So I hope that helps. Trying to draw a happy face. It's not working. Have a lovely day, and hope you do really well in your assessment. We've worked really hard, and I will see you in our next lesson. Bye, everyone.